Easter holidays often keep SA Border Management Authority very busy. This comes as a number of people, including congregants, make their way to various destinations for the Passover. Border Management Authority has anticipated to process over 1 million people at the borders of the country during the Easter long weekend, with thousands of people traveling to neighboring countries pass through the ports of entry. So for an update on border activities, we're going to be joined via video link by Border Management Authority Commissioner Dr. Micheal Masiapato. Dr. Mike, good afternoon. Thanks for your time with the SABC at this hour.
Afternoon, Lizelle, and thanks for the invitation.
We're wishing you a happy Easter. Perhaps on that note, you could also speak to us about what has transpired over this Easter weekend, traffic volumes, and also what the measures had been put in place to monitor and intercept any illegal activities.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Lizelle. Maybe just to start by indicating that indeed we have been busy implementing our plan. But of course, from Tuesday up to yesterday, we have still been implementing the first leg of the plan, which is the exit leg, as it were. So I can actually confirm that we have been able to process all the travelers who have been intending to exit the country, as it were. A typical example in terms of the figures, Lizelle, up to this point, I can confirm that around 71,000 people have been exited since Tuesday until after yesterday, or up to yesterday, out of Libombo, port of entry into Mozambique. And the one that actually is the second is Beitbridge border post, where we were able to process around 67,000 people that exited the country into Zimbabwean side and also into the continent. In terms of air, OR Tambo still continues to lead with over 101,000 people that we have facilitated out of the country. And of course, in terms of sea, we can only reference Cape Town Harbour, where we were able to facilitate around 19,000 people. So that is how the figures look, Lizelle. And of course, today, we are here at Grobelaar's Bridge in Limpopo into Botswana, and we are now preparing to deal with now the return leg of the execution of our plan, which effectively starts tomorrow.
Well, thank you for painting that picture for us. In terms of working with your counterparts in neighboring countries, as well as SARS, the SAPS and SANDF, talk to us a little bit more about those operations this time around.
Yeah, so what we fairly do, Lizelle, in this work that we do, each and every port has what we call a port management committee. So what we basically do in the port management committee is to engage among all of the critical stakeholders and be able to touch base with each other on the various aspects that will be implemented by various stakeholders. So even in this instance, I just finished a meeting now at Grobelaar's Bridge here with the Port Management Committee, which includes all of the stakeholders. The SANDF has been here, the police has been here, the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency has been here, all the traffic authorities in Limpopo, as well as the colleagues from Customs and everybody. So basically what we're doing, we're just looking at the various aspects that are going to be implemented by the various structures, particularly in terms of the return. So what we have observed, Lizelle, something that is very critical to note is that we have observed that during the return, some of the individuals avoid going into Beitbridge because they are aware of the tightening that side, and they were starting to move into Botswana and then come into Grobelaar's Bridge and be able to enter South Africa through this area. So hence we are also here to make sure that we deal with any aspects of illegal migration. So from tomorrow, all our deployments will be on par to be able to make sure that we process those that are entering legally, but at the same time, we deal with those that are trying to subvert the system.
Well, speaking about the return leg of the operations and just the many thousands of people that have been processed at the various borders and ports of entry, perhaps you could speak to some of the incidences that have come to the fore, and just in terms of the crash that happened, where churchgoers from Botswana, of course, were in that horrific accident. What was the work of BMA in assisting, family to find closure and assist them in that operation as well?
Yeah, no, Lizelle, let me start with this last point that we have raised. Yeah, indeed, as the Border Management Authority, on the 28th, we processed this bus that came from Botswana. It entered South Africa through a port of entry that we call a Stockport port of entry. And indeed, out of that, we did have the manifest, or what we call the manifest representing the list of all of the people that were in the bus. So our contribution in as far as the incident is concerned was to provide the list of all of the passengers that were processed through that particular port of entry, and we've given that to the transport authorities here in Limpopo, and we've also given the same list to the health department. And of course, that list will then be used in the process as they engage with the identification of all of those who perished in that particular unfortunate scene. And we had already, as the Border Management Authority, sent our condolences to all of the family and, of course, the people of Botswana. In terms of the other incidences, Lizelle, when we deal with the exit phase, we do not have much of the issues, as it were. We were able to deploy on the corridors for the purposes of effective traffic management, which we did with the rest of the traffic authorities, the members of the SABC, as well as the colleagues in the defense environment, to be able to make sure that we proactively deal with the criminality that could happen on the corridor. We are expecting more challenges when we start with the return from tomorrow. That is where we are going to start dealing with issues of illegal migration. We are fairly aware that people are going to try their luck, but all the border guards, all the members of the defense, as well as the members of the SAPS are ready to be able to deal with anybody who will try their luck to enter the country illegally.
Dr. Mike, I just need to wrap up. I actually spoke to you about a year ago upon assuming your role at BMA. And on the 1st of April, it's going to be a year since the establishment of BMA. Perhaps you could talk to the impact of the work a year into, and just protecting South Africa Inc. and our sovereignty as a country at large.
Yeah, so Lizelle, indeed, it was a very hectic 1 year. Part of the critical issues that we had to do in this past 1 year was to fully establish the organization, but also look into the various standard operating procedures that has been used by various departments in the port, and has to make sure that we do away with those and create an integrated single processing model, which is the standard operating procedures across the various functions. And additional to that was to make sure that the organization is fully established. So to that extent, we can say, Lizelle, as we hit the 1st of April in our anniversary going into the future, we are very much confident that we should be able to start having a direct contribution in addressing all of the issues that has been very much problematic in the port environment. Maybe just to also indicate this point, that we can confirm that we had been able to stop around 270,000 individuals who had been trying to enter the country from our point of operation to date. And of course, we are going to demonstrate the current ones that we would have intercepted during this festive period when we report on the work of this festive period in particular.